My best friend urged me to confess to my childhood friend at the class reunion, but in reality, the two of them were already together. She just wanted to embarrass me in public. As a result, I ended up confessing to the school bully who had secretly loved me in our past life but never expressed it. School bully, surprise, the school beauty has been reborn. 1. While waiting for the elevator at the KTV with Shintang, there were boys constantly looking our way. Isn't that the school beauty? Wen Xiao. She looks even prettier in person. She must be a goddess, right? I dream of having a girlfriend like her. I really want to ask for her contact info, but she's too beautiful. I don't dare. Shintang stood next to me with a poker face, but the fist hidden in his sleeve was clenched tightly. Suddenly, I realized that she must have been dissatisfied with me for a long time. It wasn't until she saw a familiar figure that Shintang excitedly called out, "Gu Xian, over here, here I come." Tang Tang, Gu Xian hastened his steps with a smile. As he approached, I discreetly stepped back 2 paces without making a sound. I didn't even glance at him. Gu Xian paused slightly. Normally, without him saying anything, I would have gone up to him, despite his obvious impatience with me. Gu Xian, Xiao Xiao has something to say to you tonight, right? Xiao Xiao. Shintang nudged me with her elbow, signaling me to speak, but I pushed her hand away instead. I know Gu Xian. I turned my head to look the other way. 3 boys were walking over. Sungu also came tonight. Sungu, your new sports car is really cool. When can I drive it? Our Sungu just woke up and doesn't want to talk. He didn't plan to come, but he must have received some news. My gaze then fell on the boy called of Sungu. He looked like he had just woken up, his black hair messy over his forehead, one hand casually pocketed, the other idly twirling a car key. Only when our eyes met did his body stiffen momentarily, his eyes slowly lifting, but he quickly avoided my gaze. Zhu Xuanran, good evening, I initiated. The people around us were somewhat surprised. School bully Zhu Xuanran and school beauty Wen Xiao seemed to have never interacted before. Could it be they knew each other? Zhu Xuanran also paused, his voice hoarse as he slowly said, "Yeah." Good evening. The 2 boys beside him exchanged meaningful looks, tilting their heads to the side and snickering secretly. Wen Xiao, Gu Xian looked at me with that impatient demeanor, as if it were his right. When did you get to know Zhu Xuanran? As if to lecture me as before, but this time, I wouldn't comply. I rolled my eyes. What's it to you? Gu Xian pursed his lips as he looked at me, his eyes deep. Xiao Xiao, how can you talk like that? Shintang was the first to come out in defense of Gu Xian. Gu Xian is looking out for you. He doesn't want you to associate with that kind of person. Why are you so aggressive? What kind of person? I stared at her. Someone who acts one way to your face but another behind your back, or someone full of lies and deceit. Don't get me wrong, I'm talking about you. Gu Xian and I were childhood friends, and after becoming best friends with Shintang, I naturally introduced him to her, despite knowing my feelings for Gu Xian. She flirted with him behind my back while persuading me to pursue him. Even though I felt Gu Xian's inexplicably cold and annoyed attitude towards me, I never imagined it would be the doing of my so-called best friend. Shintang didn't expect me to defend Zhu Xuanran. She hurriedly tried to pull me aside to remind me not to forget to confess to Gu Xian, but I swiftly withdrew my arm from her grasp. Shintang, caught off guard by her own excessive force, nearly fell. But Gu Xian quickly caught her with concern. This time, his gaze was so intense, it was as if he wanted to tear me apart. Wen Xiao, what are you doing? Apologize to Tang Tang, he demanded, his voice harsh and loud enough to draw the attention of those around us. He glared at me fiercely. Advancing step by step, I found myself retreating under his pressure, but in the next second, I backed into a firm chest, a pleasant scent of sandalwood enveloping me. Instinctively, I turned, my forehead bumping against the nose of a young man. He steadied me by the arms, directing me to face Gu Xian, his palms broad and warm. Zhu Xuanran spoke indifferently, pausing between each word. Such a fierce voice, just like my dog at home. He was standing up for me, too. I remember in my previous life at this time, I was reduced to tears by Gu Xian, secretly turning away to wipe them. Zhu Xuanran was idly chatting with his buddies not far away, yet his eyes remained fixed on me. His brows were furrowed tightly, his hand pressed against the wall, veins bulging. That night ended with me being humiliated and rejected by Gu Xian, crying as I ran back to the dorm. The next day, I heard from classmates that Gu Xian had been severely beaten the night before and was hospitalized. It seems it was this young master who had acted. Brother Sun, don't say that. Your Tibetan Mastiff looks much more spirited than this guy. I can attest to that, and it's worth much more too, said Zhu Xuanran's follower, swaying over and quickly drawing the attention of everyone around. The elevator doors were open, but no one dared to enter. What? Looking for a fight? Gu Xian asked coldly. No, Zhu Xuanran corrected. A fight implies both sides are equal. But I can crush you single-handedly. I believed Zhu Xuanran was not exaggerating. With that in mind, I politely stepped aside. Mr. Zhu, after you, Gu Xian. Come on, we're all classmates here. It's all a misunderstanding. Shintang, frightened, quickly pushed Gu Xian toward the stairwell. She didn't forget to signal to me, "Qiao Qiao, don't be temperamental. Remember why we came here tonight?" I really wanted to slap her. In my previous life, influenced by Shintang, I confessed to Gu Xian and was publicly rejected. He then took Shintang's hand and announced their relationship, branding me as the other woman. Overnight, I went from the envied school beauty to a laughingstock and object of ridicule. Later, I developed depression and dropped out of school. During my illness, I often received anonymous encouraging letters. The handwriting was neat, with just a few simple words, "Keep going. Someone is always here." Each letter came with a blue bellflower. Only after my accidental death did I discover that all those letters and flowers were from Zhu Xuanran, the boy who used to blush every time he saw me, whom I had never noticed before. Thinking of the past life, emotions welled up, causing my shoulders to tremble slightly. Zhu Xuanran seemed to sense my distress, hesitantly calling out my name. "Wen Qiao." His tone sounded ordinary, but I detected an unprecedented tenderness. I snapped back to reality. "The elevator is here." I nodded and immediately walked towards the elevator. "Be careful." I didn't notice the elevator doors were closing when Zhu Xuanran swiftly moved forward and held the door open for me. "Wow," someone exclaimed dramatically nearby. I bumped into the young man's arms, and in that moment, I could hear my heartbeat racing. His hand was still pressed against the door frame. He was facing slightly away from me, his eyebrows slightly furrowed, his nose prominent, and his lips a bright red. I couldn't help but marvel at how someone could remain so fair and have such tender skin despite playing soccer and fighting in all weathers on the playground. Lost in these thoughts, I arrived at the top floor lobby. The classmates who had arrived early had the music blaring, but when they saw Zhu Xuanran's stern face, they quietly turned down the volume. Actually, I don't think Zhu Xuanran was in a bad mood, it's just that he looks quite intimidating even when expressionless. "Jojo, come over here." Shintang beckoned me to sit with them. Gu Xian was also staring straight at me. In the past, whenever he looked at me, I would definitely go over to him, but times have changed. Now I sit wherever Zhu Xuanran and his guys sit. The two guys seemed quite flattered. "What day is it today that the school beauty would sit with us? The guys over there must be green with envy." Zhu Xuanran's mouth twitched, and he held back a smile as he slapped one of the boys on the head. "Watch your language. The lady is here." Suddenly, I found this bad student, known throughout the school, quite endearing. We sat there in groups, and throughout, Shintang kept giving me meaningful looks which I pretended not to notice. Finally, she couldn't hold it in any longer. "Jojo, didn't you say you had something to tell Gu Xian tonight?" She raised her voice an octave, drawing the attention of the other students. "Jojo, don't leave with regrets. Speak out everything you've been holding back for years about Gu Xian tonight. I want to know too." The amount of information in her words was quite substantial, sparking gossip among the classmates. I nodded with a smile. "Yes, I do have something I want to say in front of everyone tonight." I didn't miss the extremely excited yet envious look in Shintang's eyes. "Jojo, go ahead." She could hardly contain herself, her voice trembling with excitement. Gu Xian looked at me coldly, his face full of annoyance. In the silent atmosphere, I stood up, walked in front of Zhu Xuanran, and spoke loudly. "Zhu Xuanran, I've liked you for a long time. Will you be my boyfriend?" The room erupted in amazement. It was as if a depth charge had been dropped, and the place immediately boiled over. Damn, Zhu Xuanran's guy was so shocked he bumped into him. The boy seemed petrified. A flush quickly climbed up his pale face from his ears. He looked at me, his Adam's apple bobbing, and a glint flickered in his dark eyes. "Are you serious?" he asked in a hoarse voice. "Of course." I smiled broadly. "What?" Shintang screamed, no longer bothering to pretend as she rushed up to me. "Jojo, how can you confess to Zhu Xuanran? Weren't you going to confess to Gu Xian?" Gu Xian, seeing Zhu Xuanran's gaze dim, I turned around, and saw Gu Xian had also stood up from the couch, his face terribly dark. I chuckled lightly. Why would I confess to him? He's not my type at all. Gu Xian. I had never seen such a look in his eyes before. Astonishment, shock, pain, disbelief, all sorts of complex emotions flashed by as he walked over. "What are you doing, Gu Xian?" Shintang almost instinctively grabbed his hand. I laughed and said, "Shintang, I should really thank you for persistently encouraging me to like him, but isn't he your boyfriend, right, Gu Xian?" I looked at Gu Xian, who responded in his usual nonchalant manner. "No." Shintang, shocked and anxious, tried to defend herself, but by then, everyone had already made their own judgments, especially the girls, who instantly understood the situation tonight. Our class representative, always straightforward, spoke up directly. "It's disgusting how you manipulate your best friend every day. Such people only pretend to be innocent in front of guys." Shintang's face flushed red instantly. However, to my surprise, Gu Xian seemed unaffected by it. I suddenly realized he wasn't clueless. He had always silently condoned Shintang's bullying and slander towards me. Gu Xian spoke calmly. "Wen Qiao, are you joking about yourself just to upset me?" His confidence overwhelmed me. I stared at him and said, Guxian, you've been trampling over our friendship, expecting me to heal my wounds and come back to you. Where do you get the confidence to keep hurting me? Do you really think I can't live without you? He fell silent. Zhu Xuanran, as if thawed from stone, stepped in front of me. His earlobes were as red as ripe cherries. Whether she's joking or not, she has nothing to do with you now. But I was serious, I said innocently, blinking. The next second, I pulled Zhu Xuanran by the shoulders to face me and kissed him. Zhu Xuanran's eyes widened, the classmates froze, then erupted into cheers. Can I really watch this for free? Help, this perfect match, my goddess. It turns out the only one who matches the school beauty in looks is Zhu Xuanran. While I kissed him, his breathing stopped, a faint scar at the corner of his eye was now hidden in the shadow of his long lashes. Zhu Xuanran looked at me in shock, his long lashes not even blinking. This only piqued my interest further. He had no idea how attractive his eyes were. It was like teasing an innocent young man. I gently caressed his lips and whispered, Zhu Xuanran, why do you blush so easily? Don't you know how to kiss your girlfriend? His face turned even redder. The young man reached out, grasped the back of my head, and deepened the kiss. This was my first kiss in 2 lifetimes, and I never expected to be so forward. It was impulsive as seeing him. I just wanted to kiss him. Is this what it feels like to actually start a romance? It seems quite sweet. I slowly closed my eyes. That night, I was in a daze until Zhu Xuanran walked me back to my dorm. As for Guxian and Shintang, I completely ignored them and blocked them both upon my return. A friendship that's too crowded doesn't need deliberate pushing from anyone. I'd rather walk away myself. 5. Just after I got back to the dorm, Shintang knocked on my door, insisting that I had misunderstood and wanting to explain. She said she had no special feelings for Guxian. Her tone intensified as she asked, Qiao Qiao, do you really not like Guxian anymore? Didn't you say you liked how handsome and mature he is? Aren't you childhood sweethearts? I understood that Shintang couldn't accept that the only thing she thought she had over me was already discarded by me. Her feelings for Guxian might not be love, but rather a desire to compete with me. Qiao Qiao, can you come out and talk? Shintang persisted outside, knocking until my roommate sent her away. My gaze stayed fixed on my phone screen, my lips curving into a smile. Zhu Xuanran had just added me on his contact list tonight, asking groggily, are we really together? I'm very innocent, don't lie to me. I burst out laughing. I found a couple of profile pictures and sent them to him. Zhu Xuanran skillfully made the change. He said, I'm still a bit excited. I said with a smile, don't be too excited, we'll go to class together tomorrow. Good night, my boyfriend, okay? Good night, my girlfriend. It was only later that I heard from his roommate that he was more than just a bit excited. That night, he nearly tore his dorm apart, running into the hallway and shouting, Wen Qiao is my girlfriend, until the early hours of the morning. No one dared to stop him. He only stopped when he lost his voice. Then he took a cold shower and, still unable to contain his excitement, went to the track to run laps. 6. That night, I put down my phone and lay in bed, struggling to fall asleep for a long time. During the period I took a break from school in my previous life, I mostly spent my time taking medication and seeing doctors. I was no longer the envy of others. In the past, I was an excellent student and talented in singing and dancing, recognized as the versatile school beauty and a role model for underclassmen. After I fell from grace, it seemed like everyone had forgotten me, except for him. Zhu Xuanran would never abandon Wen Qiao. Because of him, slowly, no one dared to talk about me behind my back. Even at the new school beauty contest, Zhu Xuanran officially voted by writing my name on the day of the school vote. I was sitting by the window at home, contemplating for the umpteenth time whether to jump. My mother, trembling, ran into my room with her phone and said, Daughter, look, your classmates haven't forgotten you. This male student is holding your name, in the live video, at the vast voting scene. Zhu Xuanran wore a black suit he seldom wore, looking solemn and out of place. Walking alone to the front under everyone's gaze, he seemed to disregard everyone present, always indifferent to anything. He solemnly placed the sign with Wen Qiao written on it onto the table. That lone, singular vote shone brighter than any other name. In that moment, the sun splashed around, and the young man looked at the sign in his hand, his lips curling up. Forgive my bluntness, but this school beauty contest is unnecessary. The gap is too wide. The host, caught off guard by this turn of events, hesitated and asked, Zhu, are you sure? Absolutely sure. The young man slightly looked up at the camera, smiling confidently. When Zhu Xuanran sets his sights on someone, he will choose her over and over again, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, until I die. I stared blankly at the screen, suddenly remembering the person who anonymously wrote letters to encourage me. On one of the letters, there was a drawing of a girl holding a comically looking little dog wearing black clothes and sporting a scar below its eye. On the back, it read, The little dog will never abandon you. Forever fervent and loyal. Remembering the comical appearance of the little dog in the drawing, I couldn't help but laugh. It seemed to be the first time I had laughed since falling ill. My mother, shocked and excited, watched as I finally showed the emotions a normal person should have. She stood there, unsure what to do, and after a while, she came over crying and hugged me. Now that I have been reborn, I will never let down anyone who likes me, nor will I let anyone easily destroy me. 7. The next morning, Xu Xuanran and I walked hand in hand across the campus, attracting glances from passers-by. Xu Xuanran's usually stubborn and rebellious bangs hung down naturally today, complementing his dark, large eyes, giving him a strangely well-behaved look. Suddenly, I really wanted to kiss him. Just then, we passed a child eating a candied haw, his large eyes exceptionally bright and adorable. I was instantly captivated. I shyly pointed at him and said to Xu Xuanran, "Look. I want one like that too. I want to have a child like that with you." I didn't have the courage to say the rest. I figured a combination of genes with Xu Xuanran couldn't be too bad, right? Ideally, having both a son and a daughter, with the son taking after him and the daughter after me. Xu Xuanran nodded in sudden realization. "I get it now. I promise. Whatever others have, you'll have too." He looked around, then let go of my hand and ran off to the side. "Where are you going?" I was stunned. The young man didn't look back and quickened his pace. "Wait for me. I'll bring you some candied hawthorn sticks right back." "Xu Xuanran, can you be any more straightforward?" I simply sat down on a bench by the roadside and played with my phone while waiting for him. I was engrossed in a game when I heard footsteps that were neither light nor heavy stop in front of me. "Is that you, Xu Sun?" The smile on my face vanished in an instant, and Gu Xian, rarely seen smiling, was holding a steaming, fragrant bag of Xiaolong Bao. "You haven't had dinner yet, right? Here, your favorite Nanxiang Xiaolong." He handed me the bag, but with a gesture, I knocked the bag out of his hand. "Gu Xian, do you know, I've died once before, both physically and spiritually. What I can't allow myself to do is make the same mistake again. Sorry, my boyfriend will be taking me out to dinner in a bit." I paused, then thinking about not littering, bent down to pick up the bag and neatly threw it into the trash can. Gu Xian watched all this with a smile from beginning to end. "Qiao Qiao, you've always been such a proud girl," I retorted unapologetically, "and you've always been sick." After speaking, I was about to leave, but Gu Xian suddenly raised his voice. "Have you seen Xu Xuanran get into fights with people after drinking with his friends? Have you seen him in a bar, gambling and drinking with others? Do you know that there are many girls around Xu Xuanran, and he might just be playing with you?" I turned my head and looked at him expressionlessly. Gu Xian's tone became steadier as he said, "You've never been in touch with Xu Xuanran before. Wen Qiao, do you really like him? Someone as unreliable as him, worthy of you?" His following words were choked back. I withdrew my hand, and Gu Xian incredulously touched his cheek that had just been struck by me. "You hit me for him?" "Yes." I stared at him fiercely and smiled. "You insult my boyfriend, and I wonder why I didn't finish you off." Surprise and estrangement filled Gu Xian's eyes. "Indeed, I used to be extremely meek. I wouldn't physically fight with anyone, nor even speak harshly. Whenever I cried because of Gu Xian, he would disdainfully say that I was just a greenhouse flower pampered by my family, easily brought to tears over trivial matters, and that I should stick with boys who would pamper and adore me, as he wouldn't. But my tears were more out of sadness, sad because he never stood by my side." "Gu Xian," a scream came. And Shintang, who had been hiding somewhere until now, suddenly rushed out, anxiously cradling Gu Xian's face to check. "Does it hurt? Are you badly injured?" "Wen Qiao, you went too far. How could you treat Gu Xian like this?" she prattled on, but Gu Xian was looking straight at me, suddenly interrupting her. "Wen Qiao, you've changed. Thanks for noticing." I pulled out a tissue from my pocket, vigorously wiped my hands clean, and threw it into the trash can. "Gu Xian, let's go." Shintang's expression darkened a bit. She pulled on Gu Xian's arm and forcefully led him away. Gu Xian followed her but still turned his head towards me. He took a few steps and then stopped, his eyes still full of complex emotions, facing their gaze. I turned away expressionlessly. Beneath the camphor tree up ahead stood a slender figure, a young man holding a skewer of candied hawthorn fruit in his hand. He curved his eyes in a smile at me in the soft light of dawn. My eyes suddenly lit up. "Xu Xuanran," I called out, smiling as I ran towards him. He opened his arms to catch me. I hugged him tightly around his lean waist, secretly thinking how nice it felt to hold him. His arms were long enough to envelop me completely. "Qiao Qiao," Xu Xuanran's voice fell gently and softly on my head. "You really don't have to stand up for me. I never care about what those people say, I know. But I just won't let anyone speak ill of my boyfriend," I whispered, tightening my embrace, just as countless times before, when I watched Gu Xian and Shintang walking away together. This time, I boldly took Xu Xuanran's hand in front of them, clinging to his arm like a human charm, letting him feed me the candied hawthorn as we walked toward the cafeteria. "It's just showing off a bit when you've found someone you like. It comes naturally." During lunch, I overheard a girl at the next table commenting, "Who would have thought Xu Xuanran could smile, and he looks quite good when he does." Her friend immediately nudged her. "Hey, he's already taken. He and Xiao Qiao, the school beauty, really make a great pair." That morning, since there were no classes in Xu Xuanran's computer science department, he followed me to mine. It was a small class, not many people, and everyone perked up a bit with Xu Xuanran's arrival. But what caused even more of a stir was the appearance of another school tough girl, Ding Luoyan, who used to hang out with Xu Xuanran frequently. She had taken a break from school recently, and everyone thought she wouldn't be appearing at school anytime soon. Ding Luoyan had dyed her hair black and for the first time let down her usually tied-up high ponytail, accentuating her already sharp chin. She was dressed in a chic white outfit today, the top open to reveal a sexy bandeau inside, causing the nearby boys to blush and unable to look directly at her. Suddenly I remembered, Ding Luoyan had also been voted the beauty of the computer science department, but later she preferred to dress like a tomboy and hung out with Zhu Xuanran and the others. Seeing me and Zhu Xuanran walk in, Ding Luoyan bluntly said, "Wow, brother Sun is also attending classes." Zhu Xuanran didn't even glance at her and pulled me by the hand to sit in the back. Ding Luoyan laughed, turning her head with a cheeky smile. "Isn't that a bit much? Just because I confessed and you rejected me, does it mean you have to avoid me like this? We could still be friends, just like before, and I could continue to be your sidekick, right?" Zhu Xuanran snorted coldly through his nose, silently pulling out a tissue to wipe the desk. Ding Luoyan kept talking, this time her gaze shifted to me. "Brother Sun, I just realized you like this type, but how am I any different now? Why can't you look at me even once, finally?" Zhu Xuanran couldn't hold back any longer. He gritted his teeth and threatened, "Ding Luoyan, I don't want to be harsh to girls, but you better behave yourself, alright?" Ding Luoyan giggled and then turned to flip through a comic book on the table. Love and indifference are indeed very clear. If I'm not mistaken, the comic book Ding Luoyan was looking at was of Zhu Xuanran's favorite style. Meanwhile, Zhu Xuanran was frowning at my calculus textbook, putting on a serious face as if pondering the problems. "Do you know how to solve this problem?" I teasingly leaned over to him. Zhu Xuanran glanced at me, his cheeks immediately turning red. He nodded and then shook his head. "Then I'll explain it to you." I winked at him, and his blush deepened. "He's really cute." I barely held back my laughter as I took a pen to demonstrate the problem for him. When I finished explaining and looked up, I found him hurriedly averting his eyes. "Zhu Xuanran," I said, pretending to be stern, "were you looking at your textbook just now, or were you looking at me?" He glanced at me and then cast his eyes down like a guilty puppy. "Looking at you." "Zhu Xuanran, if you keep staring at me like that, the teacher is going to scold you." He blinked nonchalantly and said, "I'd still choose to look at you." That image flashed through my mind again, a girl walking ahead, leading a puppy, which gazed continuously at her back. "Zhu Xuanran, this time, I won't let you down again." As the class ended, Zhu Xuanran was called out by a boy who said he needed to talk. As soon as he left, Ding Luoyan came over and sat beside me, without saying a word. She propped her head up and scrutinized me. I closed my textbook without changing my expression. "You've been watching me during class, haven't you had enough?" The girl grinned and said, "Wen Xiao, he seems to really like you. Although everyone says you're the school beauty, I'm still surprised he chose you. It's not that you're not good enough, but in my eyes, Zhu Xuanran is the best." I looked into her eyes. They were beautiful phoenix eyes, devoid of jealousy or resentment, but filled with genuine admiration. It was like a telepathic connection between girls. I could feel she bore no malice towards me. I nodded. "I understand how you feel, and I'll take good care of him." Ding Luoyan picked up a strand of my hair and chuckled. "Did you know, when I first met him, I had the same hairstyle as you, and I liked wearing my hair down too. The first time I met Xuanran, I was cornered by a group of thugs, and no one passing by stopped to help me, except for him. He came charging on his motorcycle and stood in front of me." Speaking of Zhu Xuanran, a spark of light appeared in Ding Luoyan's eyes, and her smile grew wider. I still remember his stern profile under the night sky, arrogant and rebellious. His eyes were wild yet incredibly clear, fatally attractive to anyone. He looked at those thugs and calmly told me to get on his bike. That was the first time I rode his motorcycle. Later, I decided to follow him everywhere. So I tied up my hair and stuck by him like a brother. At first, he didn't want me to follow him, but after I desperately fought alongside him a few times, making some enemies, he had no choice but to let me. Ding Luoyan's smile turned bittersweet. I thought as long as I could stay by his side, I would have a chance, but I was wrong. "Wen Xiao, you are the first person I have ever lost to. Your presence has utterly defeated me." I looked at Ding Luoyan sympathetically, placing my hand on her shoulder, about to offer some comfort, when Shintang suddenly burst in. She must have heard many rumors around the school by now, and she looked visibly distressed. "Qiao Qiao, I was indeed with Gu Xian before. It was wrong of me not to tell you, but it was all his idea." I agreed out of helplessness. Ding Luoyan raised her eyebrows with a peculiar expression. Shintang continued, "But now I've broken up with him. Qiao Qiao, you will always be my best friend." "To hell with men." She forcefully grabbed my hand, her eyes brimming with tears. "Can we go back to how things used to be? Can we be inseparable best friends again?" "So, what do you want?" I said with a smile. Shintang thought I was as naive as before, her voice trembling with a sob. "I knew you wouldn't abandon me. You're the best. Did that Zhu Xuanran bully you? If he dares to make you angry, I'll stand up for you." "Stop, stop, stop." Ding Luoyan, sitting with one leg over the other, said, "Why can't I bear to listen to this anymore? Big sister. They are a couple in a good relationship. Why would you meddle in their affairs? Who do you think you are?" Ding Luoyan didn't know Shintang, But Shintang had heard of Ding Luoyan's reputation and didn't dare provoke this well-known tough woman. Instinctively, she stepped back and whispered, "I was just speaking on behalf of Qiao Qiao. From her perspective, if you don't like it, that's fine." But she didn't say anything. I slowly started to speak. "Luoyan is right, Shintang. Who do you think you are?" I said each word clearly, if I remember correctly, when I was still on good terms with Gu Xian. "You were the one who insisted every day that you wouldn't let me be bullied and wanted to confront him on my behalf. But as things turned out, you two ended up together, and I became an outsider. Now, are you trying to do the same thing with Zhu Xuanran?" Ding Luoyan suddenly realized and concluded. "Isn't this just the legendary behavior of a green TB*TCH, stealing your best friend's man? Looks like the big sister here has figured it out." Shintang had faced numerous setbacks from last night until today, and now even Ding Luoyan, a stranger, could pinpoint her true nature. She stomped her foot in frustration and ran out of the classroom. I turned back and exchanged a look with Ding Luoyan, and surprisingly, we both burst out laughing at the same time. "Maybe we can be friends," I said. Ding Luoyan smirked. "Forget it, after all, you're my rival in love. I don't want to see either of you again. Today was my last attempt for myself." "Alright, I lost, I accept it." When Zhu Xuanran returned that day, Ding Luoyan had already left the classroom. The comic books she had been flipping through all morning were now quietly lying in the trash can. The page was turned to the first one, with the clumsy but clear handwriting, "Zhu Xuanran. Can you please like Ding Luoyan, 13? From then on, every day felt like I was soaking in a jar of honey. Zhu Xuanran pampered me to the skies, listened to everything I said, and like bewitched, brought me lots of gifts every day, as if wanting to give me everything he considered good. His previously arrogant and domineering demeanor seemed to vanish overnight. Not only did his hairstyle and clothes look like a good student, but he also started smiling more, proudly showing off to his brothers that he had a girlfriend, and he became much more talkative. Those who knew him before could hardly recognize him now, but later, I realized that he hadn't changed his impulsive and adventurous nature. He had just toned down his sharp edges for me. Zhu Xuanran even once gave me the keys to his beloved sports car, which I adamantly refused, because I had already received the best gift he could give me. That was the letters he wrote to me when I was most lonely and helpless, and those beautiful yet lonely blue balloon flowers. In stark contrast were Gu Xian and Shintang. Shintang had a bad reputation, almost enjoying the treatment I had endured in her previous life, and Gu Xian had become significantly more silent, exuding a repressed aura. Many times, when Zhu Xuanran and I went out hand in hand, we would just happen to run into him perfectly placed, although we didn't greet each other. As we passed by, I could always strongly feel a very intense gaze on me. 14. Time swiftly moved to Christmas Eve, and in my past life, I died on that day. 15. This year's Christmas Eve came with a thick blanket of snow, the moonlight bright, and the ground pure white. My lips were chapped for some reason, and I was so upset that I ignored him for half the day, only agreeing to go out with him in the evening. Zhu Xuanran, learning from TikTok, prepared a big Christmas gift box for me, which contained apples and bright red banknotes. I was amazed at his generosity, yet helpless at his straightforward way of expressing his love. The pedestrian street was bustling, with many couples. The girls' faces were all rosy, their hands tucked into the pockets of the boys holding them. Only the straightforward Zhu Xuanran, with his zipper undone as if he wasn't cold. He took my hand and slipped it into his embrace. "Aren't you cold?" I asked him. Zhu Xuanran chuckled foolishly and said, "Not cold at all. I actually feel quite warm." Lately, I had almost forgotten that my boyfriend was once the formidable school tyrant. These days, he always looked blissfully silly, feeding stray cats and dogs, and becoming patient with everything. As we strolled along the street, a commotion suddenly erupted from the crowd. For some reason, the moment I heard the noise, my heart skipped a beat. A bone-deep fear enveloped me, and I shook my head vigorously to clear it. It turned out to be a drunk man who had fallen onto a girl. The girl's boyfriend was furious and wanted to confront him, but the drunk man's friend quickly intervened. The girl loudly claimed it was a misunderstanding and hurriedly pulled her boyfriend away. "Damn, idiots." The drunken man stood up, brushed off his hands, and spoke clearly despite his intoxication. Forget it. There are plenty of girls like her around. Come on, let's go to that bar I told you about and drive there." Zhu Xuanran stopped in his tracks and looked over. Darkness filled his eyes, and fine red veins slowly crept across his eyeballs. "Qiao Qiao, wait here. I'm going to buy you some chocolate milk tea," he instructed me earnestly. "There's a police station nearby. Just sit here and wait for me. Don't go anywhere." "Okay, I'll be back soon." I felt something was off, but agreed nonetheless. After Zhu Xuanran left, I saw the person I disliked the most. Gu Xian, who usually wore white or light blue shirts, was dressed in black tonight. He stood a few steps away, silently watching me, but I had promised Zhu Xuanran to wait there for him, so I wouldn't leave easily. I shifted my position, sitting with my legs boldly crossed. According to Gu Xian, I could never like a girl who is both unruly and sharp. How ridiculous. Once, because Gu Xian liked light blue shirts, I bought many blue skirts. Ding Luoyan liked Xu Xuanran whether his hair was tied up or let down. Xu Xuanran had transformed himself into a well-behaved student for me. Now, Gu Xian wore black, a color he once hated, all for me. Everyone changes for the one they like. But little do they know, love itself is an existence that breaks all norms. There will always be someone whose arrival shatters all your expectations and predictions. They may not be perfect, but the moment they appear, a voice in your heart will say, it's them. Qiao Qiao, can't we go back to how things were before? Gu Xian suddenly spoke. Before Shintang was in the picture, I remember in junior and senior high school, Gu Xian used to give me rides to and from school on his bicycle. He was a man of few words, listening as I chattered away, unmoving even at the funniest moments. Perhaps only the wind knew if he laughed then, because I was always popular at school. He said he hated the feeling of being talked about when walking with me, so we made a pact not to act like we knew each other on campus. And after Shintang came into the picture, he would bring only one milk tea when he met up with me and Shintang waiting for him. It was strawberry flavored, Shintang's favorite. But he forgot, I also loved milk tea, my favorite being chocolate flavored. Gu Xian, what do you think? I said somberly, is there a need to go back to how things were? Shintang only has eyes for you. She's faking it, I can tell. Gu Xian finally admitted. I couldn't help but scoff. Amusing yourself by letting her torment me, are you? A flicker passed through Gu Xian's eyes. Wen Xiao, I just wanted you to tone down your brilliance a bit. You're so dazzling that I always feel you won't stay by my side forever. I am sorry. This was the first time in my life I heard Gu Xian apologize to anyone. Unfortunately, this apology was too late to mean anything. I think we have nothing left to say. Some people admire roses for their beauty, while others fear getting hurt by their thorns and choose to do whatever it takes to make them wither. Such selfish people do not deserve my forgiveness. Suddenly, a frantic figure ran towards us. Ding Luoyan's face was pale, and she was on the verge of tears. It's bad. Wen Xiao, Xu Xuanran has started fighting with someone. There are many of them and they've been drinking. Call the police quickly. When we arrived at the scene, I saw fragments scattered all over the alley and faint traces of blood. People were strewn about in disarray, and my heart shattered. Nobody go over there. My voice was low. I had never been so calm yet so frantic. Gu Xian and Ding Luoyan were startled by my expression. Gu Xian still wanted to move forward but was sternly stopped by Ding Luoyan. Wen Xiao, you go. If anything feels wrong, call us immediately. The police and ambulance are on their way. I nodded. I knew that at this moment, Xu Xuanran only wanted to see me. I walked slowly forward. The ground was littered with many people, all bearing severe marks of being beaten with clubs. I couldn't imagine my boyfriend, alone and unsupported, facing this mob, but he still won. He wasn't unharmed, he just crazily held on until the end. Shintang was also there, kneeling on the ground, trembling all over and babbling something. Yes, the drunk man who was harassing the girl earlier was bothering Shintang. The boy with her at the time was Gu Xian. Gu Xian couldn't let go of Shintang's docile charm, but he also couldn't let go of me, his childhood sweetheart. How could I not be disgusted by such a man? I just couldn't stand how Gu Xian left me again to go to her. I walked towards a less crowded area in a fit of pique, and just by the parking lot entrance, I encountered that group. I was so scared. I said that our school's beauty, Wen Xiao, was very attractive. If they dared, they should go find her. Shintang was shaking violently, kneeling on the ground and stuttering, until she finally passed out. Xu Xuanran, who had been struggling to keep upright on his knees, let go of the wooden stick in his hand and also collapsed. But in the moment he fell, I caught him. Qiao Qiao, I saw liquid falling onto his shoulder. I realized then, I was crying. Why cry? Qiao Qiao. The boy's face was somewhat pale, but he still smiled at me happily. Look. I took them all down by myself, like a child waiting to be praised. Xu Xuanran said weakly. Qiao Qiao, I had a very real dream. In the dream, that bald drunk drove into you, and I almost went mad. I remember his face very clearly, so I couldn't help but follow them. When I heard Shintang leading them to you, everything I saw in the dream suddenly flooded my mind. I couldn't control my emotions, and just, fool, I suddenly laughed through my tears, whether in my past life or this one. He always goes all out to stand up for me, that him, determined to protect me and not allow anyone to harm me, has never changed. Xu Xuanran rested his head on my shoulder, and I heard him whisper softly. Qiao Qiao, unlike in the dream, I can finally protect you by your side. I fought back the sting in my eyes and reached out to gently trace the contours of his face. I whispered softly, little dog, I've come to take you home. The last letter he sent me in a past life contained a lengthy message. The language of bellflowers speaks of eternal love and hopeless love. My love for you is eternal, yet I know I may never see you turn back. You surely don't know a boy named Xu Xuanran. Nor would you know that blue was the color you wore when I first saw you. That day, you were wearing a fairy-like long blue dress, carrying a backpack, walking under the shade of trees on a small path. The moment I saw you, my whole world became clear and bright. I had never seen such a beautiful girl before. Pointing at you, I told my brother, is that the school belle Wen Xiao? I must win her over. Ironically, I later realized I was just a coward. I only dared to watch you from a distance. never brave enough to approach. The countless times we crossed paths were actually moments I had deliberately planned, building up courage over and over again. At some point, I suddenly realized that such a dazzling girl belonged to the world, not to Zhu Xuanran. That day, I suddenly felt an overwhelming need to see him. For the first time, I ran out of the house with my weak body, and in my haste, I was struck by a car while crossing the street and died on the spot, fortunately. From this misfortune, I was reborn. Wen Xiao does not belong to this world. Wen Xiao belongs only to Zhu Xuanran, my most beloved little dog. Please believe that this time, I will never let go of your hand.